Those two are down by the Chattahoochee River. So, yeah.
Push you in afterwards.
That's right. I know. It worked out well for me.
That's awesome.
Lee, you let us know when you're ready, man. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Defensive coordinator Blake Gideon. Questions, Ron?
When we talked to Coach Key, he mentioned that, with the new linebacker hire, they have coaches at every position, and he classified you as a walk-around coordinator.
Right.
How has that been for you, getting around to see all the positions and not having to stay with one group for a while?
Yeah, it's unique. Obviously never imagined it would be that type of position, but it's good in that respect that I do get to walk around and see how guys are being coached. And, like I told the defensive staff, I'm here in the individual part of practice to supplement you guys and support you however I can. And whether that's being Jess's assistant D-line coach or Corey's assistant safeties coach, whatever I need to do. It took me a couple of days to kind of find my way, right? Because there's not an assignment for you, right? Whenever those certain periods of practice come up in individuals. So I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, but it's great because I work with great guys. That D staff is, I think, the world of those guys. So really good coaches, and it's been easier for me to let go of some of those things that I've always had my hands on.
Right.
Jackson?
What's been your evaluation of the talent on the defensive side of the ball, and what do you think some of the strengths are?
Yeah, I think these guys learn really well overall. Their information retention has been really impressive for them just hearing these words now for about a month, to be able to put it into action and know that these words go with this call. And that's usually the big hang-up whenever you're bringing in a new system, and especially in the early part of spring. So we're not a finished product, but I think we're right where we need to be after day 3. Strength-wise, like I said, I think these guys, their football intellect and their base knowledge of the game, which is huge. It's more important than the actual call on defense. How they tailor their techniques and tailor the call to fit the situation. That's huge, especially in today's game, the situational awareness. So I've been impressed with that. Again, we're not a finished product, but the guys have a great attitude, and they want to learn. They want to be good. And so do I. So we've got that in common, and it's been a good marriage.
Question for the coach. So obviously you have a great, pedigree formerly at Texas. Obviously you come over here. In your eyes, what do you think are some of the keys to having a really good explosive defense and things you're just trying to train up the boys in the first week of spring?
Yeah, we just had that conversation post-practice a few minutes ago of, number one, confidence in your ability, confidence in your technique, and then confidence in the guy next to you. That was where we really took the next step at the last place I was at, is those guys really started playing together, and not just as a collection of good individuals, right? We've got some talent, some things to work with, but we've seen good and bad examples to the first 3 days of when we work together as opposed to when we don't. So that's really, in my mind, the mark of playing good collective defense. Besides the usual, hey, we got to be physical. We got to have our eyes on the right place. We got to understand the system, understand the call, understand where the stress points are in the call. But again, I like where we're at after 3 days, and I like the mentality of growth that we have, and I think those guys have seen enough good and bad examples through the first couple of days, which is the purpose of practice.
Chad?
What's this been like for you personally to step out there as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I'm having a ton of fun, and I think a lot of that, like I alluded to earlier, is due to the guys that I work with on the defensive staff, the head coach I work for, and the players that are out there making it come to life. Right, we can play mad scientist all we want in there on the chalkboard and draw up all these cool schemes, but if the guys don't understand it and they can't execute it, then it's all for naught. So I'm having a blast. I feel prepared for this position. I've worked for some incredible coaches in my career that have shown me what to do and warned me what to stay away from. So I think that second part there is just as important as the first part, right? What to avoid and how to progress things the right way, both from a leadership standpoint with the staff as well as the players.
Obviously, being here for a month, a little bit over a month, you've talked to the staff and kind of had an idea of what you wanted to do scheme-wise going into spring. But is this spring kind of also kind of seeing, like you said, being able to walk around your positions, kind of being able to adjust and going forward, kind of how you want to play, or is that kind of just already in the plans?
No, I mean it's more the first option you gave of let's see what we can do, let's see what we're good at. These guys were really good at some things this past year, and I'm not big on changing things that work just to fit what I want to call it or what I want to do, whatever dream I had whenever I got this coordinator opportunity. So we're throwing a lot at them right now to get different things on tape and figure out what's best, what fits our personnel best. So I know that's the big looming question of what are you going to lean into schematically, and honestly, I can't answer that entirely right now. I'll have a better idea towards the end of spring, the types of players we have, from the techniques up front we want to play to the structure that we want to play in the back seven. So that's already started, obviously, 3 days in, kind of getting a feel for what types of players we have, what they're comfortable in. And on that note, I draw from my own playing experience, and I'm not too far removed from sitting in those chairs that those players are sitting in now. And hearing that math equation that coach is trying to explain up there on the board and trying to conceptualize that into my game. And so that behooves all of us as defensive coaches to not forget that and understand the stresses these guys are going through. So there will be a time to pull back the reins and say, hey, we've got enough in package-wise, schematically. But right now we're pedal to the floor. We got to get some answers and figure out what we can do well.
Rob?
Looking at the linebacker position, there's been a couple different philosophies here over the last couple of years.
Yep.
One, they kept the two guys, the two starters on the field as for most of the reps. And then last season, they went into a 4 or 5 man rotation. Do you have any preference, or will that be based on what you see out there?
Yeah, I want to play a lot of guys. I want to play as many guys as we can. Old, young, doesn't matter to me. If they can execute and we trust them to do their job, they're going to play. So there's a little formula that goes into that we'll talk about as a defensive staff as to our target numbers of how many snaps this guy gets as opposed to this guy in a game of 70 plays. But I believe in general in playing a lot of guys. I think you can look at how the secondary rotated at Texas the past few years to see that come to life. We ask a lot of our guys, and we ask them to play a certain style and a certain level of effort. And so we want the best version of them at all times. And I know early in the season that may not be realistic to ask that guy to play the style we need for all 70, 80 plays. So if they're good enough, they're old enough, right? I really don't care how old they are, how young they are, where they come from, what they look like. If we can trust them, they can learn the system, and their teammates trust them, then they're going to play.
Alex?
You came over here from Texas, you coaching safeties over there. Obviously, you're going to be, like you said, moving around, coaching different positions. But what's your evaluation of the safeties right now? I know got some experience back, got some younger guys. What do you see from the safeties groups? Yeah, I think obviously the first two guys that jog out there with Omar and CP, you can see the experience. That they've played a lot of snaps. There's certain things, certain ways that they move with a comfort that really only comes with experience. Now I know there's some talent behind them that we're excited about, but they've got to come along. So what I like about that room is, again, for all of the guys, it's a new system. It's another new set of words, and they're ready to learn. They're eager to learn. They want to be coached. And that's kind of the concern you have coming in with any experienced group is that, well, I've done it this way for 3 years or 2 years before you got here, right? Who are you to tell me different? And I don't feel that at all from any of the guys on defense. They want to learn. They want to find the new way of doing it, and they want to do it our way, right? Collectively as a coaching staff and as players, it's our way. It's not my way. And so I think all those guys have humbled themselves to that note. And again, I like where that room is at. It's a good mixture in that you've got the experience, you've got real live examples that those young players that are going to have bright futures can look at and see how it's supposed to look. And maybe they can save themselves a poor rep if they didn't have
a good example in front of them.